Welcome to Living Simple and Well, the audio diary for the woman who's doing her best to live a meaningful life, one boundary, one deep breath, one messy day at a time. Hosted by a girl just getting by. This podcast is your safe space for raw conversations, real life lessons, and tiny shifts that make a big impact. From navigating complicated relationships and motherhood meltdowns to curating a soft, slow morning routine and showing up for your dreams. We're talking about it all, vulnerably, honestly, without the pressure to have it all figured out. Here, it's not about hustle culture or perfection. It's about coming home to yourself, simplifying the noise, and choosing to live well on your own terms. So pour your coffee, take a walk, or hide in your closet for some peace and quiet. You're safe here. Hi friends, welcome back to Living Simple and Well. It is the first hot cup of coffee I am having this season. I have a hoodie on and it officially feels like fall here in PA. And while the days are getting up to the low 70s still, your girl is inside in the air conditioning still. So I am pretending that my 55-degree walk to take my daughter to school this morning is what the weather is like all day long. I want to talk about entrepreneurship today. Not the Instagram version, the real version, the messy, the heavy, the sometimes kind of lonely parts, but also like the deep beauty that makes it all worth it. The financial freedom, the time freedom. And then we're going to get into something that has actually happened to me again recently that I've gone through a couple of times in my career. And sometimes it's a big game changer. And that is knowing when it's time to pivot. Because if there's one thing that I have learned, it's that the path is never straight. It's full of curves, recalibrations, and reimagining. And one of the reasons I wanted to record this episode today is we don't always get to choose when we pivot. Sometimes God has a bigger plan for us. I might not have chosen to pivot at this very moment, but I am. And it has given me time to increase my content creation, for making room for more partnerships through social media. It has allowed me to nurture this podcast and explore other opportunities that I can fall in love with again. Pivots don't always even have to be huge. Just making a decision to cater to what you desire and how you're feeling and doing the work internally to reflect and know what you truly want can be enough. So I'd love for you to settle in with me this morning with a cup of coffee or tea, or even take this episode on a walk. We're going to have a little heart to heart today. Okay, so let's start with the hard stuff because we have to name it to really move through it. Entrepreneurship is painted as this dream life online, right? Work from anywhere, be your own boss, endless freedom. And while those things can be true, the full picture is a lot more complicated. One of the hardest parts for me personally has been the loneliness. You're carrying this vision that no one else can fully see yet. You're the one making these decisions, wearing all the hats, and sometimes it feels like no one around you truly gets it. Another hard truth is the pressure. You're not just the CEO. You're the admin, the bookkeeper, the marketer, the customer service rep. And on top of all of that, you're still you. The mom, the partner, the friend, the woman trying to take care of her body and soul. And then, of course, there is the financial uncertainty. I'll be honest, I've had months where the money didn't flow the way I had hoped, and the stress of wondering if I made the right choice weighed heavy on me. That's real. And maybe you felt that too. That sinking feeling of wondering if it's all worth it. That voice in the back of your mind saying, maybe I'm not good enough. But here's the other side of that coin. And this is why so many of us keep showing up day in and day out, even when it's hard. The beauty of entrepreneurship at its core is freedom. The freedom to design a business that fits into your life instead of shaping your life around a job. That's huge. Most of us punch in and punch out at a 9 to 5 and crunch in anything life-worthy around the outskirts of that shift. Entrepreneurship gives us the ability to create a business that works around our life and not the other way around. It's the creativity. You get to dream something up and actually bring it to life, to take an idea in your head and watch it ripple and have an impact in someone else's world. And it's the pride. The moment where you realize, I built this with my own two hands, my own vision, and that's so powerful. For me, one of the most beautiful parts has been the flexibility. Being able to create work that flows with the season of motherhood I'm in instead of against it. Entrepreneurship has stretched me in ways I never expected. It's taught me resilience, it's taught me patience, and honestly, it's really strengthened my trust in myself. So even though it is tough, it's also so deeply rewarding. And I think that's why most of us are willing to walk through the fire at the end of the day. I'd like to now get into something that doesn't get enough airtime, in my opinion, and that is knowing when to pivot. Here's the truth: pivoting is not failing, pivoting is growth. It means you've learned something, you've evolved, and you're ready for your work to evolve with you. So let's talk about a few signs that it might be time to pivot. If you are constantly feeling misaligned with your values inside your business, if you've outgrown the version of yourself who started this business, if there's financial strain that seems constant and it's draining you, or when your body is telling you every day that this isn't sustainable. I actually want to share a personal pivot story here. I have had a few pivots in my career. Some of these I've made the leap on my own, and others came from a nudge in that direction when I least expected it. I was laid off from my remote role as a director of operations for a real estate investment company the day before I was scheduled to be induced with my daughter. Yep. Picture this. You've got a six-figure income. It's safe, it's predictable, it's flexible as a soon-to-be mom. You just signed the paperwork for your dream home that you're going to raise this new baby in. And bam. Sorry, we're relocating everyone to Texas, and we know that's not a reality for you at this time. It was arguably one of the hardest transitions I have honestly gone through, both personally and professionally. I'm sure the timing of it all made it that way, and it made it feel way worse. But what it did give me, obviously hindsight is 2020, was the ability to soak up being a new mom for a few months and just truly enjoying motherhood and our baby that we had tried so hard for. When my daughter was 3 months old, I dove into network marketing headfirst. I had honestly never heard of MLMs or network marketing prior to this, but I was interested in products from a company that was a network marketing company, and I made the decision to grab a starter kit and pursue the business because if anything, I could be an affiliate and share and earn a marginal amount of money. But if I really loved it and I enjoyed the strategy behind the organization, I could take it where I wanted it to go. One of the things that I loved about network marketing when I truly got into it was that you get out of it exactly what you put into it. So if you're hustling, if you're grinding, if you're doing the work and you're sharing and you're being strategic about treating this as a business, you're going to be paid as such. I was able to pay the house payment within a year, and that felt fantastic. How I was balancing motherhood and sharing my life online, naturally blending these products into my everyday life. I was then able to pick up partnerships through my Instagram that allowed me to earn there as well. I found my strengths within network marketing and developed a love for creating content and helping leaders strategize over their organizations. That's when I chose to mini pivot because not all pivots have to be life changing. And I actually started picking up some freelance working behind the scenes for other leaders in the network marketing organization I was a part of. I helped them achieve their goals and feel supported. I built a network of wonderful women I was blessed to work alongside and realized after growing to six figures that I needed support and I wanted to continue to grow. This is when I formalized the business and began hiring a team. We've been operating this way successfully for the last 2 years. At the start of the summer, I made the decision to focus on more business development and brought in a strategic partner so that I could focus on spending precious time with my daughter and doing tasks that move the needle forward for the business versus being in the work with our clients one-on-one. Sadly, I had a shift that was out of my control when the strategic partner departed suddenly, and it left me faced with closure of my business. I had to do a lot of reflection, a lot of inner work, a lot of therapy to really see if this was the right move for me. Because closing my business wasn't something that I was expecting, it put me in a position of fear. It put me in a position of uncertainty. It felt riskier to pivot this time around than it had before, even though at that time I was a new mom, I had time. And now it didn't feel like I had time to decide what I wanted to do next. So the most important question I feel like I asked myself when I felt that nudge is, am I building the business that I truly want or the one I thought I should? And when I asked myself that question, and trust me, I've done it repeatedly, and at its core, I had fallen out of love with what I was doing. It didn't serve me for where I wanted my life to be going and the direction in which I was heading as a mom to a very busy 6-year-old who now has a lot of activities and school events, being on a PTO board, and really leaning more into life work balance as opposed to work life balance. And I realized that I had inadvertently allowed for work to take over my life the way a traditional job would. And this was the nudge I needed in the direction to say, we need to slow down and prioritize you before you build again. So I want you to ask yourself, if you're feeling this nudge, if I were brave enough to pivot, what would I move towards? I want you to dream big here. Remember, pivots can be small. It might be shifting your offers, changing how you show up online, or adjusting how you structure your day. Or it could be big, changing industries altogether. Either way, it's not a step back. It's a step closer to alignment. Now, there are always risks involved in pivoting. Most of what people talk about are the rewards, the financial freedom, the time freedom. I'm happier because I am more aligned. But not everyone is willing to talk about the risks we take. It's a risk financially to walk away from a consistent income and try to freelance, or to build a business from scratch, or to change the type of business you're building altogether. You go from having this predictable paycheck every week to not even sure where the next influx of money will take place. You have periods of time where you're truly grinding what feels like 24/7 to build something from scratch, when you used to be able to punch in from 9 to 5 every day and leave work at the door. If you're in this season of transition or you're feeling ready for a change, I want to invite you to reflect today by asking yourself some or even all of these questions and pouring your heart out on paper. I can tell you firsthand how much this has helped me. What part of my work feels like it belongs to an old version of me? Where am I craving more freedom or alignment? If I were brave enough to pivot, what would I move towards? And yes, I've asked that twice on purpose. It's my favorite little journal prompt that I go back to on a regular basis. Because again, there are days where I'm taking very small pivots and making changes. That vision is always available to you. And every pivot you make brings you closer to it. I want to leave you with a few key takeaways to remember today, friends. You're not failing if it feels hard. The beauty is often found in the smallest wins. You're allowed to pivot when things no longer align. And as we wrap this up, I want you to remember, you are allowed to evolve. You don't have to hold on to something that no longer fits, and you don't have to carry on this journey alone. Every pivot is a step closer to the business, to the life that feels most true to you. Next week, we are going to dive into the idea that our habits, the tiny things that we do day in and day out, shape not only our lives, but the energy we live in. If you're craving more peace, more presence, more confidence or joy, it doesn't start with a huge life overhaul. It starts with the small, frequent choices that you make daily. Until next week, friends, keep living simple and well. Bye for now.